Some say the creeks are haunted.
It's called Devil's Elbow, one of the creepiest names along the highway. Many road trippers wonder, what's up with the weird name?
Not by a frightening mythic phantom. This isn't a ghost story. Well, at least not how you would think.
So many people were killed, they've now said there's actually heads bobbing in the water, you can see.
These waters have sanded stone beds carving curious routes since the valleys formed. Upon this ancient stone, countless generations have gathered to connect. Their stories were born of this water.
But about 2 miles before you get to Mayfield Cemetery,
there's this big well-shaped grave, lots of stones around it, and that's where Eliza was supposed to be buried.
That's Eliza Jane Laycock Thomas, a woman from the area who records say died in 1897. But why does this grave stand out from the rest?
People get to thinking she was a witch because she was not buried in the graveyard. Way back then, if you were a bad person, evil person, something you were not allowed to be buried on, holy ground, sanctified ground. So therefore, she had to have been a bad person.
A few months ago, I got wind of a story that definitely piqued my interest. There's a town in the Ozarks in Missouri called Devil's Elbow. In this town, there's a cemetery where the residents of that town were buried in the late 1800s. But a few miles up the hill from the cemetery, there's one lone grave. And in that grave, supposedly, is buried a witch. Now, if you know me and you've watched any content on my channel, you know that right there, nothing more, just that right there, that little synopsis is enough to pique my interest. I'm instantly in. I want to go check it out. Different people have a different opinion on, how much of the story is true, how much is folklore. It seems like if you Google online and you find 10 different people writing about it, you'll get 11 different opinions.
There's likely a very rational explanation as to why Mrs. Thomas was buried where she was.
Some of the rumors are that she's buried where she died. So she evidently fell down and died right there.
The part that nobody disagrees on is that there is a town called Devil's Elbow. There is a cemetery called Mayfield Cemetery, and a mile or two up the hill from the cemetery, there is the grave of a woman by the name of Eliza Jane Laycock Thomas. And that is all true, and you can come here and visit that. Whether she was a witch or what exactly the reason was for her being buried outside the town cemetery, we don't know. But that's the facts, and that's enough to make me want to come up here and see what is going on with this.
The Ozark Witch. This one kind of wrote itself. If you've seen my Halloween special, you know I love a good story that occasionally bends towards the paranormal. I'm not superstitious, but I am a little stitious. I made my way down the mostly well-graded roads of the Mark Twain National Forest until a weathered wooden sign caught my eye.
We are here at the Mayfield Cemetery, and I want to go inside and show you. These are the graves of the people who lived here all that time ago. One very strange thing about this cemetery is that nearly every headstone has been broken. And I'm gonna come around here and show you some of these. Now clearly someone has repaired some of these headstones. but some of them were so clearly intentionally broken, like it's not a natural break. They're clean lines, and it gives you a really weird feeling to think that somebody maybe thought these people did Eliza wrong and came here to decimate the graves. So I want to show you guys these stones. You tell me what you think down in the comments below, if you think this was intentional or natural. Look at the line on this. I just don't think that that was natural. Let's go look at one of the other ones. You can see here, right down the top. You can see both of these, one that's clearly not been repaired, and then this one they've attempted to repair. But again, both cut at diagonals like that. This one has been split. This one, split, split, broken in two, split, split. I mean, you can see what I'm talking about. It just feels so intentional. And I can't help but wonder if this wasn't like some form of retaliation. It's hard to tell how long ago these stones were broken. Some look recent, but some, like this one, that could have been a long time ago. Whereas this one, it's more white. So maybe that was more recent. Now it's hot out here, but I'm also breathing heavy just because this is spooky. It's so hot outside that my camera keeps overheating mid-shot. I mean, you can just see it's not raining. This is just condensation from the humidity. So I sit in the truck for a second, let the camera cool down so I can keep going. But I wanted to start here at the cemetery and then work our way up the hill to see if we can find Eliza's grave. Now, like I said, last time I came here and did document this and lost all the footage. So I have a pretty good idea. I didn't map it, but I have a pretty good idea where we're gonna head. But I'm just gonna catch my breath for a second. It's weird how this kind of, I don't know, man, I'm super fascinated by the history, but like being by yourself in a remote forest in a graveyard when there's clearly been some form of vandalism that feels like so, I don't know. I've seen vandalisms in cemeteries, but not like to the extent of this one here. This is like every single tombstone. I think I saw two that didn't have some sort of clear signs of damage, and both of those were children. So if you're gonna let your imagination like just kind of wander, maybe whoever did this felt like the children were not to blame, or maybe they didn't have a say. And you know, back then, people got deemed satanic or witches or warlocks or whatever anytime that it could have been something they just did not necessarily understand. It could have been someone with a mental handicap, or it could have been, you know, someone that was just autistic or different in some way. You know, just something that was enough for them to say, you're not like the rest of us, so we're going to call you a witch. And you know what I mean? And maybe she was a bad person. I mean, I don't know. But it's clear that some people feel if this vandalism was due to the story and the folklore, then it's clear that some people feel that these people did her wrong in some sort of way. That's it. It's Eliza's grave. We're here at the burial site of Eliza Jane Laycock Thomas. Died in 1892. Now, obviously, there's Lots of controversy surrounding her death, whether or not it was accidental, natural, whether it was suicide, murder. You know, there's not a lot about it. All we know is that this is where she was buried, and it's outside of the town cemetery that we were just at. So you could see how maybe rumors got started, but it also makes you wonder, like, is that how the rumors got started, or did the rumors get started because there's some truth? Now, there is obviously people that believe there is validity to the fact that she was a witch, whatever that means, you know, for that time, whether it was an actual satanic thing or whether it was just she was different in some way, or maybe she did some wrong things and got labeled. It's hard to say, but she is absolutely isolated away from the rest of the townspeople, and it's clear people continue to come up and visit this spot. At one time, there was actually an upside down cross painted on this tree. Someone came up and did that. There's a satanic star spray painted on the rocks here surrounding her burial site. You know, so some people that have clearly bought into the story that she was a witch. There's bundles of sage up here. There's people that have brought little trinkets and cars and flowers, and it's just fascinating that something from, you know, someone born in 1865 in a little forgotten town, Devil's Elbow, in the middle of nowhere, people are still coming up here and visiting this site to this day. And it's just, this is why I love the Ozarks. It's this kind of strange, quirky, eerie, beautiful, rich heritage of this space. So obviously with stuff like a witch's grave and the name Devil's Elbow, I know you're probably gonna wonder where that name came from, the town name. Was it related to this? Did it get the name after the fact? So this is actually gonna make the whole story a little bit even more freaky. But this town is built right on the Big Piney. And the Piney is a river up here in Missouri. There's a particularly sharp bend on the Piney just right down here. A lot of logging trucks that were coming through here would have a hard time making that bend, and some of them got stuck and capsized, and there was hundreds of deaths over the course of the years from the import and export of logs up and down this portion of the river. And so they named the town that formed here Devil's Elbow because of how many people had died. Rumor has it that if you go to the Big Piney right here at Devil's Elbow at night and you look across the water, you can actually see the bobbing heads of those that died on those logging boats all that time ago. I ain't doing it. You can do it. You go do it, you film. And then send me the footage and I'll put it in a video. I ain't doing it.
Whoever this was, whatever the truth is, I've got a feeling it was buried alongside her. This feels more like the grave of a deeply misunderstood person than an evil one. After all, why would any of us choose to judge the dead with nothing more than an old wives' tale? I say we give folks the benefit of the doubt. Innocent until proven guilty here in Devil's Elbow. And maybe many years from now, when we've all moved on to whatever comes next, we'll learn the truth about Miss Thomas. Maybe one day, her story, like Ghost of the Piney, will rise from the current, take the helm, and aim us home.